When a team gets eliminated from the World Cup in the most heartbreaking way possible, the natural instinct for most athletes is to retreat, to keep their head down, and to let the disappointment settle before facing the cameras again. Erling Haaland did the exact opposite. Just moments after Norway's stunning quarter-final exit against England, he walked straight up to a post-game interview microphone and delivered one of the most thoughtful, emotionally honest statements of his entire career, catching American fans off guard with just how openly he chose to process the heartbreak in real time. In this video, we are going to walk through exactly what Haaland said in those raw, unfiltered moments after the loss, break down why his willingness to speak so candidly resonated so deeply, and explore what his words revealed about everything this tournament meant to him. So let us get into everything that unfolded. To understand why this moment carried so much weight, you have to remember exactly what had just happened on the field. England had accomplished something no defense had managed across Norway's entire tournament run. They had completely shut down Haaland, the same player who had terrorized 4 consecutive opponents by scoring 7 goals against Iraq, Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, and Brazil. In a 2-1 defeat that required extra time to settle, Jude Bellingham scored both of England's goals to complete the turnaround. While Haaland himself was substituted off exhausted before the end of the first period of extra time, unable to influence the outcome the way he had all tournament long. For most elite athletes, that combination of individual silence and team elimination would understandably lead to a guarded, minimal response to reporters. Haaland chose a completely different path. Before we get into exactly what Haaland said in that press conference, take a second to hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed, because we are covering every emotional beat of this incredible World Cup summer as it continues to unfold. It only takes a second, and it genuinely helps the channel. Alright, let us get into it. What made this moment so memorable from the very start is how Haaland chose to carry himself walking into that interview. Rather than appearing defeated or distant, he approached the microphone with a smile still on his face, immediately setting the tone for everything that followed. He opened by acknowledging just how surreal the entire experience had been, admitting that he believed this tournament had genuinely changed him as a person. He continued by reflecting on his own rapidly growing profile, noting with characteristic understatement that his visibility had grown a bit, before admitting that the whole experience was honestly hard to even fully put into words. As the interview continued, Haaland shifted from processing the immediate disappointment toward putting Norway's entire tournament into a much broader context. He told reporters directly that Norway was building on something real, expressing genuine belief that the country had finally arrived as a legitimate footballing nation, and that the priority moving forward needed to be maintaining that level rather than treating this run as a singular, unrepeatable moment. He specifically praised England for the way the match had unfolded, acknowledging simply that Norway had given them a good fight, a gracious and measured response from a player who, only minutes earlier, had watched his own personal 7-match scoring streak come to an end at the worst possible time. Perhaps the most revealing portion of Haaland's post-game comments came when he was asked to reflect on what specifically stood out to him from the entire tournament. He answered with striking honesty, explaining that the performances themselves, including the stunning win over Brazil, were significant, but that what actually touched him the most was something bigger: the way this Norwegian team had managed to put their country on the map for the entire world to see. He spoke about the connection between the team and Norway's traveling supporters, specifically referencing the country's now famous Viking Row phenomenon, explaining that the character and spirit of the people surrounding this run was exactly what resonated with him on the deepest level. He added that he hoped this tournament could serve as motivation for young people back in Norway, proving that reaching football's biggest stages while representing their country was genuinely possible. Haaland's willingness to reflect publicly did not stop with that press conference either. In the hours that followed, he posted an Instagram carousel capturing highlights from the tournament, captioning it with a message directly referencing Norway's supporters, thanking them for making the entire journey, in his words, quite a row, and expressing gratitude for how special they had made the experience. That specific reference to the Viking Row became one of the most widely shared elements of his farewell. tying together the on-field heartbreak with the off-field cultural phenomenon that had defined so much of Norway's tournament coverage throughout the summer. In a separate portion of his comments following the loss, Haaland offered a surprisingly candid glimpse into how he was processing his sudden surge in fame and attention. Describing what it currently felt like to be him, he admitted with his usual self-aware humor that going straight from a World Cup quarterfinal into holiday felt quite nice, adding honestly that he was happy with his life and felt like he was in a genuinely good place. He acknowledged just how difficult it was to fully process everything that had happened over the previous 6 weeks, describing the entire experience as a roller coaster and admitting that it had simply been so much to take in all at once. That kind of vulnerable, unfiltered reflection, delivered so soon after a painful elimination, gave fans a rare glimpse into how a young superstar actually processes both heartbreak and sudden global fame happening simultaneously. Haaland was not the only person close to him who chose to speak openly in the aftermath of the loss. His girlfriend, Isabel Haugseng Johansson, who had traveled to the United States throughout the tournament to support him, shared her own heartfelt tribute on Instagram stories shortly after the final whistle. Writing in Norwegian, she reflected not on the disappointment of the result but on the memories created throughout the run, telling Haaland that the adventure was over for now but that the memories would stay with them forever, adding simply that she was proud of him, always. That message, shared so quickly after such a painful defeat, added another layer to the broader story of how everyone closest to Haaland chose to process this ending with gratitude rather than bitterness. Part of what made Haaland's willingness to speak so openly resonate so strongly with American audiences is how unusual that kind of immediate, thoughtful vulnerability is among elite athletes in the moment right after a devastating loss. Fans who had spent 6 weeks falling for his personality throughout the tournament found this moment to be the perfect encapsulation of everything that had made him so likable in the first place: genuine, self-aware, and completely unafraid to show real emotion rather than hiding behind generic athlete clichés. Clips of the press conference circulated widely across American social media, with commentators specifically praising the maturity and perspective on display from a player still processing one of the most painful moments of his career in real time. Stepping back from the emotion of the moment itself, Haaland's decision to break his silence so immediately and so openly reflects something meaningful about the kind of athlete and public figure he has become over the course of this tournament. Rather than retreating after elimination, he used that platform to reflect on everything the run had meant, not just for himself, but for an entire country experiencing this level of success for the first time in nearly 3 decades. That willingness to look outward, toward Norway's supporters and the next generation of players, rather than inward toward his own personal disappointment, became one of the defining traits fans associated with him throughout this entire tournament. At the end of the day, this moment will likely be remembered as one of the most genuinely human displays of the entire World Cup. A young superstar choosing honesty and gratitude over silence and retreat in the immediate aftermath of heartbreak. Between his surreal reflections on personal growth, his gracious praise for England, his emotional tribute to Norway's Viking row, and his candid admission about simply trying to process an overwhelming 6 weeks, Haaland's decision to speak so openly gave American fans one final, unforgettable glimpse into exactly what made this entire summer so special to follow. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you are subscribed so you catch our next video the moment it drops, because a summer this emotional deserves to be remembered in full.